Everyone, welcome to the latest of the Overboard Network, a Below Deck podcast. We are back with episode 16, a season is just flying, a Below Deck med titled Clash Landing. In this week's episode, Kyle and Natalia continue to fight. They make amends, but honestly, I don't know how long that's going to last this time. Dave continues his head scratching opine over Natasha, and new guests come on who not only get a distracted Dave, but they don't leave the dock. Sean, I think we start this episode at the top here with Kyle and Natalia, kind of the conclusion of their fight. Like, I'll say this, I'm kind of sick of Kyle having such a quick switch or like a short fuse and going off on everyone. And then he gets these like interview cutaways saying he does this because he was bullied in school. It's like, dude, you're now being the bully.
Yeah. Does he admit to Natalia that that's why? Like, does he explain because obviously he saw a therapist or someone who explained this to him, right? Like, this is why I'm overly defensive because of like how I was brought up or things that happened to me when I was a child. But like, I don't, and yeah, like if you're Natalia, I know like they're cool at the end of it, like no way through the episode after that little meeting. But yeah, he's still Kyle. He's still overly combative like all the time.
Yeah, and then he just like acts like kind of a shithead for like an entire episode, and then he'll be like, "Well, I was bullied in school, so that's why I do this." It's like that doesn't make any sense. Like, I get it, but like, it's great that you do this because you were bullied in school. But how about not do this to start? Just realize like I don't have to be defensive anymore. There's nothing for me to like. I'm no longer hiding anything. Like I get it. The dude probably didn't have the best upbringing, but like what are we doing now? Just like being mean to chicks?
Yeah, he knows the root of the problem, but isn't like doing anything about it. Right? It's like
Yeah,
he knows he needs a root canal, but he's not doing anything to the tooth. Yeah,
yeah,
which we saw earlier this season.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, the guy just keeps getting hurt. We'll get into it at the end of the episode. It was funny. I actually like went back to like watch the end of last week's episode and then the beginning of this week's episode because I feel like they tried to capture the beginning of the fight, and so I think Kyle really wasn't like that sorry, but he gets pissed when Storm brought up that like he got in trouble with Sandy. So like the truth came out about this whole thing that like that's kind of why he apologized. That's why he did all these things was because he got a talking to from Sandy.
Yeah, if you don't podcast about this show, you might have like not remembered what this fight was about. And right, because like they're good because like last episode, Kyle apologizes to Natalia. And by the way, like Cindy didn't ask Kyle to apologize. She's just like, just don't bad enough for her in front of me or in front of like the rest of the crew.
So,
And he apologizes on his own. They're good again. And then it comes up during dinner, thanks to Storm, that Sandy like heard Kyle badmouth Natalia in front of her, and that's where the start of the fight was like recreated, right?
yeah,
That's what
exactly.
triggers it. Yeah,
It was actually kind of funny. I feel like Storm doesn't necessarily do the wrong thing, but some combination of Storm and Natalia, like they just get mad at each other. I don't know if it's like booze. I don't know what it is, but it's like the last dinner kind of got screwed up because Storm, like Natalia was talking about like lead deckhand, or kind of brought it up, and then
mm,
Storm just like did it and announced lead deckhand. And now, like at this one, like Storm brought up that like Kyle got a talking to from Sandy. And like, I don't think anyone's necessarily doing anything wrong, but like, it just ends up with like them mad at each other. And like, there's always some form of a fight. I'm just like, are we getting back to like last season's Below Deck, or was it Below Deck Legacy where just like we couldn't have a dinner? Oh, it was Below Deck. It was Below Deck Med where we just couldn't have a dinner last season.
no, oh yeah, Lexi and Matt.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I hope for Storm's sake that him and Natalia after the Charlie season, that's it. And I
Yeah.
know he'll fight that, and he'll try to have them like hang out or like travel together. But no, she's gonna fight with him every chance she gets. It's something. Now they do hook up that night.
Yeah.
For him.
Yeah. He's got that going for him.
Poor guy.
Yeah. I will say the only other thought about this fight. So one, I don't really care about this fight. Like, I mean, it's entertaining, but like, it really is at this point like a fight. I mean, about nothing. These are people who are like, probably most of them won't see each other again after like 6 days from now. Like, is Kyle really still upset about the hierarchy of the boat?
Who knows with Kyle? But yeah, the fight was about such insignificant details.
Yeah.
And like about whether Sandy saw it, which he did, and I don't know. Like I get me where Intelli's coming from. Oh, like I hate that Kyle heard or that Sandy heard Kyle badmouth me to her, right?
Yeah.
But he wasn't doing it to her. She overheard it and she immediately scolded him. So I doesn't really reflect badly on Natalia at all. Like Sandy being there doesn't hurt her case whatsoever.
Yeah. No, I agree. One or the other thing I wanted to say, two more. Kyle playing the victim. This is a real shocker. The whole like I'm just, kind of over him. It was so weird. I feel like I don't remember flipping like a full 180 on a person from like a third the way into the season to like almost the end. Like I usually feel like we have a good like sense of like if we're gonna like someone during the season. And I mean I was team Kyle until like maybe 6 episodes in.
Right. And I think once he met that guy, like after that charter, I kind of flipped.
Yeah.
He kind of became very combative and just sort of the worst and super entitled and lazy.
Yeah, it's a tough look for him. I will say Reed had a real interesting like night here. Like he was really concerned that they were making a scene in public. And like while he's right, he's like A, like low man on the totem pole, and B doesn't really have that big of like a presence. And so it's just like you can just tell like it's almost like his mom and dad before they sat down to dinner all the time, they were like, listen, we're just not gonna make a scene here. Anything that happens at the table, just we'll deal with it later. I don't know if like he had an upbringing where like somebody was always fighting or just like that was one of his principles. Like no arguments in public.
Yeah, I kind of subscribe to that too. I
Yeah,
I
yeah.
I respect. I think you would too, Ray. I respect where he's coming from. But yeah, dude, like no one knows you. Why are you the one getting in the middle of this?
It was also just like he was real intense about it not being in public. I was just like, it was just kind of funny. It
If
probably
he's
is like a
but
southern thing.
I
If I
think
think, yeah,
certain type of Southern people, I think that's his thing. Yeah.
yeah. They I guess the last thing about this dinner, Sean, Natasha continues to be a terrible leader. She doesn't want to get involved in when like basically the only other two people in her department are like having like a severe argument and have had severe arguments. Natasha's like, I just don't want to deal with that. I'm like, Natasha,
That
like
was pretty good, man. That was good accent.
it's like
Weirdest
you
British accent I've ever heard.
yeah, it's like you have to. Like, and Natalia's right. She's like, you like this is your department. This whole thing is your department. Like, I know we're having like personal issues here, but like this is something that like we need like a leader in here to fix. And she's just like she's also saying she doesn't want to get into it when she has been Kyle's like sounding board and agreeing to like everything he said the entire season. So for her to now play innocent is just total BS.
Oh yeah, she's had his side the entire time.
Yeah.
Since jump, right?
Yeah.
Um she's making the classic I'm not the chief stew of Nights Out.
Yeah.
But the fights did start like in charters.
Yeah, exactly.
This fight, yeah, all this stemmed from mid charter of the most recent charter. Yeah, so it still is a Natasha problem. Now she does have the meeting the next day.
Yeah, after the
That
fact. If yeah.
surprisingly works.
Yeah, well, I don't know if the producers just like, all right, guys, just shut up about it, like, But like I okay. Kyle does a weird defensive move where he says he's like, well, the second time I called you a bitch was to your face, as if he should get credit for that because he called her a bitch behind his face behind her back the first time. And so like for him to say that, which is like such a shitty move, and then 30 seconds later, just like start to tear up and be like, it's just so hard. Yeah, I was bullied. It's like, Kyle, I'm just not buying his shit anymore. And like, I'm kind of over him.
He just likes to fight. That like
Yeah.
he talks himself out of the fight by the end of it.
Yeah.
Natalya didn't say anything that like Natasha didn't resolve it or anything like that. Is Kyle like is he in a fight with himself or he's just fighting for the fun of it? And then like wraps it up at the end because he realizes he was wrong, I'm sure.
Yeah. And it's just
Or
a shame too, because like, I feel like Kyle and Natalia, when they're both on their game, they make it a good night out, right? Like Tasha's never going to make it a good night out. Dave's kind of a weirdo, cool guy, I guess, but weirdo. Like, I don't think any of the other guys really bring a lot to the party from like a party scene, but like, I mean, those
no.
two, those like Courtney, I guess, good, but just having like a hard time because like everyone else is just going to go around and like have cocktails places. Like these are the two that are going to be like, let's go to the club. And so
Oh
it's
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
it's
There
dampering the nights out.
Storm did try to like buy 6 cheeseburgers and after he ordered them, they're just like, yeah, we're closed. He went to
Yeah,
a
I was actually kind of,
McDonald's.
I like how like nobody cared about that story, and Z was just like, dude, just go talk to your woman. Like it was so funny. Like nobody cared. Storm had already
I
didn't Storm just like leave the table again? I don't remember what he did.
and like eventually him and Talia go home and hook up, which
Sure.
good for him. But I kind of wish we got to know a Natalia free Storm.
Yeah.
I
Could be a
think she
party.
kind of I don't know like he could have been a lot of fun. I'm still a Storm fan, but like an unleashed Stormed. I don't know.
How old is Natalia? Did we say she
We'll
was like
never know.
24?
She's only 24. Yeah.
So also Natalia having the opinion, so someone who's like a world traveler, right? Like having the opinion that she doesn't want to date someone if they don't see her being the father of her kids. That's a weird, like, I get it, but like for someone who is like wants to be like a world traveler, they just don't want to like have fun for a little bit. The person she's currently dating has to be in the running for like her kid's husband, or her husband.
That's why the 24 thing was so shocking. Because some of the
Yeah.
things she says, it doesn't like add up at all. But that's
Like
hey, that's
Sean, I
being
think
us.
I think 24 is like a weird, like I don't think a lot of 24-year-olds are like saying they wouldn't date someone if they weren't going to be the father of her kids.
Guess in like the South, maybe. But not in Australia. She's from Australia.
Yeah.
She's been yachting. Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
total opposite.
So that was kind of
Well,
weird. So Sean, you want to get into Dave and Natasha for a little bit because I've got
yeesh. Yes, can't wait.
I all right. So here's the thing. Natasha sucks. Dave, when he's with Natasha, kind of also sucks. Dave without Natasha is actually pretty awesome and like a really good chef. And so like I was just like yelling at my TV when he was sending like that text about like, we whatever, like it I love you, but it's crazy. It's so shitty the way you treat me sometimes. I'm just like, Dave, like you're better than this. And it killed me, man, because you knew the last thing that Tasha wants to be is like actually liked by someone. She wants to kind of like be hated, and that really gets her going. Um, so Dave, like, just don't do it, man. Just don't do it.
There is no winning with that text either. So I'm trying to get into this head. So like pretty normal night out, right?